How's it going, everybody? It is your favorite apostates. I am McKay.
And I am Jordan.
And we're back again. What's going on? No Garmy Army. Just wanted to make sure everybody knew that that was still a thing. What's going on? Welcome back. All the things that I usually say. I don't think we really have anything up front to talk about other than we did a poll talking about doing some streaming on here, possibly doing like Q&As and stuff on the reg, like monthly, regularly. And a lot of people on YouTube voted, a lot of people on Instagram voted, and thank you all for your votes. But I think in order to not conflict with other things, since we upload on Mondays, we'll probably do live streaming on Tuesday nights, which was the big kind of the consensus on Instagram. Not that we don't love our YouTube homies, but yeah, we wanted to take everything into consideration, and that makes the most sense. So I think that's what we're going to go with. We might already have a stream set up by the time that this video goes live. I don't know yet, but we want to get on that.
Keep an eye out.
Starting soon, so keep an eye out.
Maybe this Tuesday. Maybe tomorrow if you're watching on Monday. Surprise.
Keep those eyes open. You won't want to miss it.
You need to be awake, like Ruby says.
Thank you, Ruby.
Awake.
Awake.
Today we are talking about the lovely, beautiful, amazing girl bosses, girl defined.
The last two, maybe not so much.
We have not done a video on girl defined in a hot minute. So
because honestly, they fell off.
They did.
In a lot of aspects.
Their content is like on the DL. Like I feel like they were a lot more popular when we started on YouTube.
Maybe even before that, I think.
I mean, they had their heyday.
Yeah,
but even when
sure.
we started, I feel like they're better than they are right now.
They've been on a trend for sure.
So we decided to do an updated video on them and just kind of some things going on. Not really a whole lot. There's some stuff with Bethany that I want to talk about. But the primary reason that we're here is to react to a video that they posted yesterday. The video is entitled Men Can't Menstruate, period.
I kind of like the play on words. Period. Even though I know it's going to be bigoted and absolute horse shit, I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff.
We're here for it. We're here for it. We're going to listen to what she has to say and be very angry about it. So that's what we wanted to talk about primarily, but I did not want to miss out on this opportunity to talk about what the hell Bethany's doing with her life right now. Because a lot of us were very confused. And now I am just endlessly entertained by this new venture that she has created for herself.
Venture.
So we're going to watch this intro video. She created a new Instagram. She's on this new business venture journey, girl boss, mom hustle, whatever, you know? And so, she's created this profile and is making like a ton of content. Content might be putting it loosely. A ton of videos.
When was the first post? It says 77 posts thus far.
And this was June 4th, I think. But she had talked...
That's like twice a day posting.
She's posting a lot.
Holy shit.
So she had been talking about this on her regular Instagram account for a while and saying that she was like coming up with this new thing and she was so excited about it and oh my God, it's going to be so amazing. And she like teased it for like, I want to say like 2 months before maybe even longer than that, because I feel like I was seeing it all the time.
And then she creates it and continues to blue ball everybody by like,
because nobody really
coming
still
out and saying it
knows what's going on. Everybody's confused. So you can be confused with us. So let us bring you up to speed. We're going to watch this video to start. This is Bethany explaining what she is doing so that we can all better understand. All right, ready?
Let's check it out.
Hello friends, my name is Bethany Beal and I am the founder of She Works Smart.
Founder.
And I actually got the name idea from Proverbs 31. I honestly just went to that chapter, verses like 10 through 31, and I just started looking for inspiration, looking for ideas, and She Works Smart is what I came up with. The whole idea is that I want to help women work smarter and not harder. I am not about that hustle culture, like grind, just do it all. I want to help women, especially women who want to be home with their kids, home with their babies, have more time with their husband, contribute to the family economy without having to be away all the time. I want to help you know how to do that. And I think there are so many opportunities in the day that we live in to do that. And I think every woman has a skill set, an expertise that she can bring to the table to help her family create another stream of income. And I'm going to show you how to do that from A to Z. So stick with me, follow along, and I will share all of my tips and tricks on making passive income.
Oh, there it is.
Hello, friends.
The passive income should be a fucking red flag. I don't care who you are. You can already tell. Oh, this is...
She's smart.
This is a scheme.
She's smart in that she waited to say that until the very end of the video.
Yep.
So I will say that.
That was a lot of kind of just...
Mumbo jumbo.
I'm guilty of this too, but just talking and word vomit and everything like that. So
it's the captions for me, because look at this. Like, I have never seen anything more MLM-y in my entire life. If you desire to make more money yourself and or your family without entering the 9-to-5 hustle, this page is
girly.
for you. $sign, fire emoji.
Have you ever thought about making passive income?
Stick with me. Drop a praise hands if you'd like to make more money doing what you love. Like, come on. That's concerning. So that's what she's started, okay? So there's been a lot of confusion about what she's actually doing. So currently in her bio, she has VIP course training coming soon. So from what I can gather and watching way too much of her shit the last few days, she has created, well, it's Bethany, probably still is creating a course to teach other people how to make courses.
When's the deadline?
She doesn't say.
If there's no deadline, then this will be an indefinite process.
I think so. And that's just... because it's in the thing, online course creation training. So she's going to teach people how to make online courses that they can then sell, is what it sounds like to me. But she's gone kind of on a weird tirade, and she had all of her stuff very, interesting looking. And some people from, shout out Fundy Snark Uncensored on Reddit, had gone and found out that she was following someone whose feed looks identical to this.
Oops.
So she was literally just ripping from other people, which...
just pop it in Canva and...
inspiration, I don't know. So she's made a lot of comments that have ruffled at least my feathers about people who have 9-to-5 jobs and people who have gone to college. She's gone kind of on a tirade about this recently.
Wait, so she's anti 9-to-5 working class and
Yes.
also anti-educated working class.
Yes.
Who the fuck is on her side then?
And also feminism. So remember what her and Kristen have said about feminism over time is it's, toxic and women need to be in the home and blah, 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 blah. But then she's like, hey, queen, I can teach you how to make money. I mean, isn't that empowering women to make their own money? I don't know. So she's shitting on people who have a real job, and the rest of us with real jobs are okay, Bethany, have you had a real job in your life?
Let me say this. Just because you haven't gone to college doesn't make you any less of an important worker.
That's not
what I was saying. Sorry.
No.
So just to clear that up.
No, and that's not the thing at all. College is not for everyone. It's a racket. It's fucking expensive. If you're not absolutely positive you want to go down that path, then don't go down that path. But let's not shit on people who have spent the time, effort, and energy, because it's not just you go to college and you're suddenly enlightened and smart. It's fucking hard work.
Yeah, it's liberal indoctrination.
It is. So don't, and that's probably the underlying issue here that she has with this. And so, and she did one post where she basically said that she had a full ride scholarship to a D1 school for women's basketball. And
really?
and she chose not to do it because she was passionate about Jesus or some shit.
Play basketball.
I know. And if she was getting D1, she must have been really good at it. But whatever.
whatever.
This goes back to the whole persecution fetish. Something really common with women in fundy culture is I will sacrifice myself, my wants, my needs, my desires, the things that I want to do in order to pursue Jesus, to, you know, raise a family, be a stay-at-home mom. Like, it's like you get special points with Jesus basically for not pursuing what you want. And forcing your... And I mean, some
which
people...
is a shame.
It is a shame. And some people want to be stay-at-home moms. And that's fabulous. And I love that. But let's not project, like, that as a requirement onto other people. Like, fundy culture shouldn't be promoting that if you're working outside the home, then you're a terrible mother. And that's essentially what it does.
Yeah.
So, to start us out, here's a beautiful reel from Bethany.
Oh, I'm going to have to mute this, huh?
Yeah. What is happening?
Okay. Well, let's read the description there.
Have you experienced the joy of making passive income? Star eyes. It is really a feeling like no other. Making money long after you finish the project is amazing. Cash bag. Making money while you sleep is the best. Cash happy tongue emoji. Making money while you travel is incredible. Little cash thing. Save this post. P.S. My VIP list online course master training will open soon. Keep an eye on my stories. So this was 7 days ago.
Oh, let's read the just for the listeners out there. She's just kind of vibing, and the caption says, when you work a 9-to-5 job, and then when the beat kind of kicks in, she says, when you start making passive income, and then she's like going crazy dancing.
Dancing would be like
moving her
very
body
loosely.
Hey, I can't dance for shit either, so I mean, have no stones to throw.
I'm not the best, but I would never post something like this of myself.
That's fair.
I mean, I embarrass myself like on the regs just like by speaking. And so doing this, I don't need to add that to my...
Snaps to the self-confidence. I know she learned the self-confidence while being a bigot, so
it's yeah.
I guess it is kind of second nature to be confident.
And like this,
otherwise.
what's happening here?
When IG glitches and deletes all of your reels and drafts. When we were on TikTok, people would be like, hey guys, what's in the drafts? And we never make drafts. It all gets made and posted. I don't know.
Because we fly by the seat of our pants.
Yeah, we are.
Like, just the priorities, like, she has a blanket over her head and all her drafts are deleted and she rolls off the couch onto the floor and is, like, crying about it. Like, is this supposed to be helpful? Yeah. I
guess
don't
if
know.
You, made a bunch in a row so that you can, parcel them out throughout the week or whatever. But, yeah, I don't do that. Are women afraid of money?
Okay.
I've been thinking about money and wondering why Christian women are so scared of money and so scared of making big money.
Can we pause this for a second?
Who's scared of that?
I don't think it's a fear. I think it's actually placing their belief in things that Jesus taught, and making big money is not one of those things that Jesus was about. That's
fair.
So, I mean, speaking of your own theology, it's kind of anti-Jesus teachings, if you ask me.
There's this message out there, or a message we tell ourselves, that money is evil, and to be on a really tight budget, or to have to kind of get by week to week, that somehow that's more godly. And I think we've confused the verse that talks about the love of money being the roots of all kinds of evil with money being evil. And that's just simply not true. Money is literally just a tool that can be used for good or for evil. And it really comes down to the heart of the steward and what you are doing with it and why you desire to make money, that I think is way more important.
The thing about Bethany...
I think she's really just under the surface, but can't seem to break through.
Self-awareness.
None.
But I think the thing about Bethany, and I think in the time that I've watched this, watched her, progress, if you could call it, on Girl Defined. I feel like she's like super like strong in her convictions sometimes, and then when it like doesn't work in her favor, she's like, we're not gonna deal with it.
Whatever.
Like, she made a post, like, you know, being Christian and loving Jesus is her entire personality. And then she creates this She Works Smart account. And then she's like, I'm only going to be posting like one Christian reel a day. So if you don't like it, skip it. Doesn't sound like that's your whole personality, Bethany.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I
You can just
agree,
skip
but
it.
like, it's the principle of the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would do it again. I would do it again.
It says POV, skipped college and jumped straight into being an entrepreneur. I don't think people understand what the idea behind POV is, because
She doesn't understand how any of the real things works.
Yeah.
Like
it's supposed to be your point of view. So
she's been shitting on college people again. So like, this is the whole thing. I just don't like, she has to put somebody else down in order to elevate herself. Like, to me, that just screams insecurity.
Whoa, Jordan, that's what you do. That's what we do.
That's what we do.
Put other people down.
It's true.
Bring ourselves up.
I just don't like, to me, it just reads that she feels like insecure about not going to college. So she has to like throw it in your face that,
I know.
you know, I'm successful without having to go to college. And there are people who are successful without going to college. Like, hello, go do a trade. Trades are amazing. We need those people. Like, college isn't like synonymous with being successful.
Yeah.
But it just like,
Well, the worst part even is she's young still.
Yeah.
She can still go to college.
for real, like, this is going to be embarrassing if she inevitably
I know.
changes her mind like she does with everything else. But college isn't Jesus centered, so unless you go to a Christian college. Okay, so that's kind of like the gist of what's going on. The last thing that I wanted to share is and this is a pinned store or a pinned post, but a while ago, I think it was a few months ago, she created a PDF that she sold from her account, not from Girl Defined, but from her account, where she compiled like a list of questions that you should ask your significant other. And she created this whole thing, okay?
Did anybody know how long it was? How many pages?
So she created this PDF in Canva because the whole thing is literally, I saw this on Fundy Snark when it like first happened, because she basically, like, I use Canva like for our thumbnails, and I've used it for some stuff like,
No shame in the Canva game.
no shame, like, they make it really easy.
No.
But like, if you just like copy the thing and like paste it into something else and being like, that's mine, like, that,
Pretty redonkulous.
yeah. So the packet is 15 pages. It's $12, and it's literally, from what I could gather, just questions. Like, she might have like an explanation or two maybe, but it's just pages of questions that you ask your spouse, like, in different categories. That's really it. So it's $12, which, I work in this field. I have a small business in this field of content creation as far as like print products goes, and let me tell you, $12 for that is a fucking racket. I would never sell that for that much. Never. Like, the only reason that this thing sells is because of her base, like, because of the people who follow her. Like, in a real, like, I work in curriculum creation, and if she were to put together what she did and sell it, like, let's say to teachers, I would pay, like, maybe pay $2 for that. Maybe. And I do this for a living, people, so I'm not, like, talking out of my ass here. So this, out of this context, is, like, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, I have curriculum creation products that I've made that have, like, extensive amounts of reading and writing and very thorough, very intense, and I sell
Wouldn't
that
even
for
cost
half.
$12.
Yeah. Like, it's absolutely
Seriously.
fucking insane to me that she made a profit off of this and even sold any. So she posted this reel.
I'm going to show you how I wrote and published my own PDF download on April 15th and have already made over $7,000. First,
No.
Immediately
Immediately no.
For $12 a pop, that's 583 units sold.
No way.
by the way.
Absolutely no way.
Does she give a screenshot? Not that
No.
like a web page can't be
I don't think so. She maybe like shows like one like individual or two individual sales. She's like, I made like 7 sales this day. And it's like, well, that's not the full picture, Bethany, but okay. There's just no way.
I'll take her at face value. But
Mind
even at
you-
face value, that's 583 units. She has way more followers on Instagram and far more subscribers on YouTube. So
Well, and for me,
it's kind of abysmal if you ask me.
that's true. Well, and kind of the thing that gets me is when she created this PDF, because she did the same thing when she was making this PDF. Like, she teased it for like months and was like, I have this super exciting thing coming up. But she literally did question boxes on Instagram and asked her followers for the questions. She was like, what are your favorite questions to ask your spouse? Like, what's your favorite? And so literally, like, it pains me because the people who bought this product are probably the people who gave her the questions. So basically, you gave her the ideas and you're paying her to give them back to you.
You should get a discount depending on how many of those question box answers
You submitted? Oh my
A
God.
proration, you know. I think that's fair.
And the questions are just so dumb. Like, this isn't like deep, like engaging questions. Like, it's not. Like, there was one question on the like intimacy or sex page because she's obsessed with talking about intimacy and single women. Like, she's fixated. Like, I'm concerned because this is all that she talks about. And so one of the questions, I believe I sent them to you when it first got posted in Fundy Snark, was like, is there anything that I can do better with my hygiene to make me more attractive to you or something like that? And I was like, please stop.
Please help me.
And people in Fundy Snark were like, you know, her husband must have inserted that question and she doesn't edit anything because there's typos like every fucking sentence. And so he just like slipped that in there real quick and she didn't even know.
Or something.
So that's what kills me about this is it's a freaking racket. And she's saying that she's made $7,000 from this and I just don't believe it. Like, I just don't. Like, to me, there's no way. So
We could do that. What's your favorite question? Ask me.
I don't know. How much? I don't know. Don't put me
Wow.
on the spot like that.
My favorite question to ask Jordan is, hey, can I have some of your drink?
Well, that's just rude. I guess maybe mine is, can you go get me a Dr. Pepper from
That's true.
McDonald's? So that was this. And then the only other thing that I really wanted to talk about is, let me find it.
I'm a genius.
When people question your credentials, tell them this.
I'm a genius.
Genius.
So
Oh my God.
I'm pretty sure she's in the sub or at least reads it. But she's getting questions constantly about like what
expertise do you have?
Yeah. Like, you can't be an expert in something without expertise. So, like, what am I missing here? Like, you're an expert in passive income? Like, how? When? Because when she first started out, she was like, I can teach you how to make 6 figures. And people were like, Bethany, you've never made 6
I will
figures
buy
in
that.
your life. Like, what? And so people are like, what the hell are your credentials to be teaching this shit? And she has no answer. Like, here, right here. What are my credentials? Personal experience. Personal experience is a part of that, yes, but you don't have expertise as part of that personal experience. Like, you're not an expert in XYZ. Like, this is not something you've dedicated your life to or experienced constantly. Like, that's personal experience has to be like in the thing, not just like I've lived life. That's my credential.
Her experience is setting up a grift that targets Christian women,
Yes.
not just general entrepreneurship.
It's true. I'm a person. That's my credentials. I'm a person with a brain that's getting on here to tell you that I can grift money from you.
What am I credential? I'm a human.
I'm a human.
What is my experience in life?
That's what it
Buy
is,
my
though.
shit.
That's totally what it is. So that's what's going on with Bethany and Bethany's life. Literally multiple reels a day, and it's exhausting, and I can't. So that's what's happening there. But she has not taken a break from being a bigoted asshole. So
Girl defined.
So we will return to that in a moment. They are, I think you said what? They're posting like every day or every 2 days?
At least this last week, they've been posting every day.
So they're posting, but their views are down quite a bit. And I just don't think it's generating the traction that it used to. They just released like a retreat journal or something that's just like one of those stupid like boxes that you buy that has like colored pencils and a journal and just like, no, stop. That's okay. But so that just came out a few days ago. But I don't really think they're like making moves like they used to. So the video today,
Definitely not.
we are going to watch Men and Periods. So please,
Men can't menstruate, period.
please stand by for the bigotry. This will be, without a doubt, and like insanely transphobic. So that is your trigger warning. If this is a sensitive topic for you or something that you feel you are not emotionally well enough to take in right now, please stop, take a break, come back to it if you would like. Never watch it if you don't. Like, listen to yourself because this is going to be transphobic and toxic as hell. So just keep that in mind.
All right, let's get this shit started.
Welcome to your car conversation. Men can't menstruate, period. That's what we're talking about.
She just jumps right in.
I don't want to judge people for their set because ours is absolute dog shit, but this is a really big step down from the bedroom that they were filming
For
in.
real.
So,
And I can already hear it coming because you've already DM'd me, but Bethany, you're confused because there are women, biological women, who identify as men and they menstruate every month. So
that's definitely
get
not
straight.
what people say.
Bethany, you're the one that tells trans people that they're confused. So let's reverse that shit back over here.
And I hate to say, but I completely disagree with you.
Shocking.
Biological men cannot menstruate. If you are saying a man is menstruating, you are referring to a biological woman. And in fact, when I was younger, I remember being at the checkout line of the grocery store. And I remember seeing
Origins of
something
a
that to me
transphobe.
at the time was very disturbing because it was so shocking, especially back then. I'm 33 and I don't even know how old I was. I was a kid. And I remember seeing a magazine, no idea what magazine it was, but it was basically a picture of what looked like a man that was very pregnant, like 8 months pregnant, 9 months pregnant.
I remember
Very,
this.
very
Do you remember
pregnant.
this?
I don't think so.
My mom I grew up in a very conservative household with deeply Republican people, okay? So this was like, and the original place that I saw it was at the checkout stand at the grocery store. Because they used to have, like, the magazines used to be, like, in your face.
They still are.
Like,
It's
no.
the same.
Not at King, like, at the one at King Supers was, like, literally next to the ATM. Not the ATM, the little card thing. So you could be, like, I'm staring at it while my mom's paying. Like, it's, like, right in your face. Whereas now they're, like, on an end cap where it's, like, not as, like, in your face.
I think they're still in your face.
This is an important
That's my
distinction.
Go ahead.
So anyway, I saw this same thing and my mom was like, disgusting, gross. That's a woman. It's not a man, like the whole thing. So I'm sure this is probably like a household experience in people our age.
Probably. Hold on. Before, I was going to make a very niche joke. Oh, you saw a disgusting, according to you, magazine. Did you go and bury that one too?
Oof! That's a deep cut.
That's a deep cut.
And it was something to the effect, the title was something to the effect of like, whoa, like, you know, man gets pregnant or whatever. And I just remember being a kid and being extremely confused and disturbed, honestly, by this picture that I saw. And it wasn't until later, when I grew up a little bit, that I realized, oh, that wasn't a man, a biological man that actually got pregnant. That was a female, a biological woman who identified as a man who was now pregnant. And so I think that...
I love that they use the term biological. To like, because gender and sex are two different things, but they're going to try to tell you that gender is a binary, so they have to put biological before it
Yeah.
To be like, it's only
It's
men
one
and
or the
women.
other.
Yeah.
Has to be. People, the people who understand the least about biology are the people who talk about it so fucking much.
Unfortunately, the world is very confused and many are very confused. And when I tried to say things like, no, men can't menstruate, men can't have periods, men can't breastfeed, men can't have babies, I'm viewed as the one that's like not understanding biology and not understanding science and not with the times.
True.
It's
true.
just crazy. So if you're a Christian woman watching this car conversation,
Nope.
yeah, it's kind of a deep conversation for a car conversation, and I've got the nice little lake in the background, but we're just going there. We're having this conversation. This is actually kind of a...
She purposefully went to this lake.
She
to
really
be able to
drove to a dumpster-looking pond to literally looks like under an overpass to film this video and think it was cute. Just do it in your driveway.
in the garage even.
You're in your car. Nobody cares where you're sitting.
Seriously.
I don't care where your car's parked. This is like a weird detail.
a shortened version of the podcast that just released over at our podcast, The Girl Defined Show.
Oh, goody.
I talked all about Miss Universe and a recent post that they put out. And it basically was a guide for how to talk about periods. And the whole guide was basically, don't say this, like don't say women who have periods, say people who have periods. Don't say, basically all of those talking points about how we need to have inclusive language and we need to be very careful about how we talk because, it's the biological sex doesn't matter. It's all in how a person identifies. And
So my question is, what is bothersome about that to you? Because if I'm correct in my assumptions of where this is going, she's going to take a gender critical approach. But it's like, when people do this, generally it's like a radical feminist approach of being like, you're taking things away from women and women are being erased, blah, blah, blah. And we'll get to that
That's
in
called
a
a
moment.
TERF.
Yes. But trans exclusionary radical feminist, if you aren't aware. But she can't really talk from a feminist standpoint.
Because she's not even a feminist.
So I'm really curious as to how she's going to take this.
It's just bigotry. Also, just a little thing about this situation. I just did a Google search based on what she was describing. First thing that pops up, Breitbart article. So
Of course.
all you need to know.
Reliable news source.
want to be inclusive. And I personally just unpacked how I think that is the most ridiculous, damaging thing ever. And,
Why?
Also, it's just insane to me that these feminists, these women who have been fighting here in America for so many years to get women's rights, women's equality, opportunities for biological women, are now the ones at the front of the line saying, yeah, don't say women have periods, don't say women can breastfeed, don't say people, a person who chest feeds, we need to be more inclusive. It's like they're the very ones now trying to erase us before our very eyes.
Oh my God.
And
there it is.
There it is. This is like the anti-turfdom right here.
This is what I'm like, legitimately, my brain is kind of like tingling a little bit as to how she's trying to approach this, because it's hard to be like, to take the same position as a TERF without identifying as a feminist. So instead she's just going to sit on like shit on both, but then be like taking the position of feminist, but also like, this is like a lot of mental gymnastics that are happening here in order for this position.
It's a lot of distortion, Jordan.
So much distortion. Ruby would be very pleased with this. The thing about erasing women, like, this is the narrative. Like, if you're watching the news right now, especially like with all this stuff going on, which is why Bethany's talking about it, like, the whole concept of women are getting erased is like infiltrated conservative media circles right now. Like, it's all over Twitter. It's all like the stupid, the Ben Shabibos of the world are picking this up and like throwing a fit about it. Like, this is all the rage right now. So they've all taken on the talking point of this is erasing women. And I just, like, like, my brain just can't wrap around it. It's another scenario, like, and it doesn't surprise me that Bethany takes this approach, because she does the same thing with like, when she's talking about, like, the gay community in general. But it turns into, like, a pie situation. Like, you can't come in here and be a woman because I'm a woman and I'm oppressed.
I know, right?
I'm like,
they're really getting upset that a title is being, like, broken down because it's useless, meaningless nowadays. Because is Bethany a person with a uterus?
Presumably, she had a child.
She had a child, so she's a person with a uterus. What is she getting so fucking upset over?
Well, not to mention, and I don't know if she's going to go on to talk about this, but one of the main talking points of this argument is, you know, if you can't give birth, like, they can't give birth, so they're not a woman. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that say to people who struggle with infertility? What does that say to people who can't have kids? What does that say about people who identify as women that don't want kids? Because apparently, according to Christendom, that's our only that's the only way that you can identify as a woman, is if you're able to give birth.
Yep.
And that's a really regressive
people
take.
Tell me that. They're like, a woman is a person who can give birth. To you, and that's a lot of the problem too, is people will think that it's an absolute truth, when in reality, absolute truth almost does not exist. There's objective truths, which can be proven, and then there's a lot of subjective truth that we all hold to be true. A lot of people say the Bible is the truth, but that is their subjective truth. So, honestly, it's tiresome when people are making points like this and they're saying this is the truth, this is how it always has been, and just because it's been like that for a long time doesn't make it the truth. Right.
Well, and you can't be oppressed because women are oppressed. Like,
yeah,
if we want to talk about oppression being like a, I don't know, like a domineering factor, like, if you're a trans woman, I mean, I would count that as like double oppression, because women, like,
already
people who identify as women are oppressed, and trans people are oppressed.
That's intersectional, I would say.
It totally is, and I think that's the point that a lot of, like, TERF arguments and TERF people miss, and it just comes back to this analogy about pie. Like, same thing with the gay community in general when Bethany and Kristen talk about these things, but, like, it's just because somebody else is, you know,
getting rights and being represented doesn't mean that you can't have any representation.
And if women are so oppressed,
you historically haven't, because I mean, straight cis people have had the spotlight for thousands of years. So let's cool it, honestly.
Well, and women are oppressed. So why would a trans woman, like, enthusiastically want to, like, jump in and be a woman, like, to be further oppressed? Like, there's nothing that they're like, I think that's the thing, is they're like, a lot of rad femmes are like, they have privilege still because they're biologically male, and so they're taking that privilege in with them into a female space, and I'm like, don't think so. Anyway, I'll let Bethany talk.
It's not just, y'all, it's not just that God created man and God created woman, and they are different, and no matter how we feel on the inside, no matter how we think we identify, God is not a God of confusion. He did not make a mistake.
Trans people are mistakes.
Yes. Trans and intersex people are mistakes.
Yep.
Apparently.
If you are born a biological woman, that is his good design for you, and even if you're struggling with that, you can press into the fact that God has a good plan for you, that he is a loving savior, and that he made you a woman on purpose, and you can take cues from the fact that God made you a biological woman. Same goes for a man, but it's not just like men and women. There are beautiful differences between men and women. And instead of just saying, like, well, it's just a woman or it's just a man, it's like we need to celebrate those differences. God made us equally valuable but purposely different. He created women to...
I'm pretty sure that's a quote from their book.
She does not stop with the self-promotion.
It's constant.
They wrote that and she was like, this is fucking brilliant. I'm going to make this an everyday conversation piece.
By the way,
we will put these videos out, and I don't remember what we said, like 90% of the time.
By the way, go subscribe to our Patreon, speaking of self-promotion.
Yeah, self-promotion.
Have a uterus to be able to carry and bring forth life, something a biological man cannot do. It is physically impossible for him to do that naturally.
honestly.
They have their one talking point, and they can't. It's the same thing, like generally in response to anybody as a member of the LGBTQ plus community. Like they all have the same argument.
Yeah. If you were assigned male at birth, you can't have a baby. Okay. Because that conflicts with their idea that a woman is a person who can have a baby. So if you're assigned male at birth, you can't have a baby, you can't be a woman.
And there's no, like, it's the same thing with shishmortion going on right now.
Shmishmortion?
Because it's the same argument.
I thought you were saying distortion.
No.
Okay, yeah.
With, Roe and everything that's going on, it's the same argument. Like, they have their one talking point, and it's terrible, and it's sensational, and it's intense, and it's meant to rile you up, and it's meant to make it so you don't have a comeback for that. But it's not because they're right. It's because you can't argue with something that's not logical. Like, if you're that sensationalized and that attached to this argument that actually doesn't hold any water, like me responding to you in a logical fashion isn't going to do anything for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There is no appeal to reason.
No.
With people like that. They have their talking point. And the thing that I was talking about earlier kind of comes back around in that people are like, this is how God made it, and this is how it should be in our country, la-di-da-di-da. And I'm like, well, what about those of us who don't believe in God, like myself? And they'll be like, that just because you don't believe in God doesn't mean that he doesn't exist and that he doesn't love you. Like, okay.
Whoa.
Sounds great. That's exactly what I'm talking about with subjective truth. That's what you believe, but it's subjective.
Just because you're Christian doesn't mean you get to inflict it upon the rest of us. But
yeah,
according to the Supreme Court, that's okay now.
And breastfeeding, you heard that insane story a couple months ago about a man who transitioned to a woman, but was talking about his experience with breastfeeding the baby that his wife or whoever he didn't give birth to it, somebody else gave birth to it, but he was trying to breastfeed, but they were saying they were having trouble with the milk coming in because he is a biological man, he is not a woman. And so it's just, when you take a step back, it is so sad to me, the chaos that the world is in, and their answer is, no, you need to press into this. You need to be more inclusive. You need to use the pronouns that everyone wants. You need to use the terms and the language that everyone wants, because that's what's best for our mental health. That's what's best for the health of these individuals. And I would completely disagree. And I think that statistics over the last few years show you that they disagree as well. I mean, suicide.
She's gonna say the thing.
Please
She's gonna
don't.
say this thing, and I'm gonna fucking rip her up for it. Go ahead.
On a live reference, trigger warning incoming, I bet.
Suicide rates, depression, anxiety, everything is absolutely through the roof. And I don't think it's just because of the difficulties of COVID that we went through. I think it's because we are pressing into absolute insanity. And honestly, I don't even know what's going to happen in 10, 20 years when this next generation that we are confusing the heck out of grows up and had chopped off body parts at 14, 15, 16. And
this is a fucking Matt Walsh stan, and I cannot take anybody seriously who watched that I'll very loosely use the term documentary, because that is not
they paid to watch this
intellectual at all. The sewer slide rates thing is the most asinine argument ever, especially in the way that she's using it, because she's totally taking out of context everything and extrapolating something to the entire population.
Well, and that's not what the general data shows.
No.
Like, the reason that, I know that Christians and these people who don't agree with this think that people just do things willy-nilly. Especially in medical settings, this is all data-driven. Access to gender-affirming care is suicide prevention. Calling somebody by the pronouns for which they want you to use is suicide prevention. We have data for all this, and it's well established. This is, she's complete and totally talking out of her ass.
Yeah. People like Bethany Beal and anybody that really, really subscribes to her similar beliefs or thoughts will talk shit about trans people constantly. Call them confused, insane, invalid, all these things. Vote for politicians who repeatedly strip away medical freedoms and protections for trans people and rights to do as they please. And then they will have the fucking gall to be like, suicide rates, people are killing themselves. This is what you're promoting. Like, I don't understand where the goddamn disconnect is for people, because they're actively working against a marginalized group, and then they're wondering why people suffer so much. Like, it pisses me off.
Well, they can't put 2 and 2 together, because if they did, then it would threaten the thing they've based their lives on, which is their religion, because all of this is based in what God said.
Yeah.
So if you apply logic to that argument and they start to like listen to that logic and like, you know, maybe process it a little bit, then it's going to like shake the foundation for which they've built their life upon. So it's much more appealing to just sit in this position where I'm just ignorant and annoyed by everything and think I'm like, you know, I'm so crazy, like, you guys, like, I'm crazy for thinking this. Like, you know, it would threaten everything.
Yeah.
So it's much easier to stay in this position.
Yeah, it's easier to stay in this position where you're bigoted and you're pushing for the legislative extermination of a group of people than it is to change, because you're a reactionary piece of shit. So,
you know, can't live out the normal function that they once were able to, or kids who are 2, 3, 4 are being told, you know, that there is no such thing as a man or a woman. It's all
a man.
To me, that is only contributing to the problem of the major mental breakdown that's happening in our world.
It couldn't be you.
No, not possible.
It couldn't be
It
like...
couldn't be other Christians.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, it is other Christians. It is people like you, Bethany, and you're just blind to it. You want to ascribe a problem, a perceived problem in the world, to people that you don't like.
Mm-hmm. And to be based in godlessness.
Yep.
We're not here by accident.
Because
we didn't create.
Sorry for the pausing.
I am more, I mean, if you really wanted to like look at things from her perspective, like, there are people that are going to be offended by her content. And then I firmly think that there will be trans people who are Christian.
Yeah.
Who are going to listen to this and are going to be doubly offended.
Yeah.
Because the Christianity, evangelicalism, according to Bethany, is not Christianity on the whole. And so this is the problem with this whole thing, is it's all based on interpretation. And when we become a Christian fascist nation, because everybody thinks that their brand of godliness is the same as everybody else's, and then we're going to force everyone to be governed under this belief that everybody is, you know, has these values and believes these things and has certain, you know, requirements. You know, it's people like Bethany that have landed us in the situation that we're in right now.
Yeah, totally.
Ourselves, we didn't come up with the idea of gender. We didn't come up with the idea of marriage. We didn't come up with the idea of family.
You surely did.
We literally did.
God is our creator. He loves us so much, and he so intentionally created man and woman. He so intentionally created woman with the beautiful functions, the beautiful design.
Men can't be beautiful. You don't have a uterus, so shut the fuck up.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
He created men with their own unique design, their own abilities and strengths. And instead of pushing against that or rejecting it altogether, we need to step into that and say, thank you, God. Not even.
What about the people that believe that God created them this way? Because they're using your same thing. They're using their beliefs, their values, their religion, their God to justify and say, hey, I mean, I don't even need to justify. Like, God made me this way, period, end of sentence.
Period. We're back around.
Accepting it, but having a heart of gratitude, saying, thank you, God, for your good plan. Thank you for your good design. I know that there is freedom that comes when I walk in your good design for me, and so I'm going to embrace that.
When I walk in your good design
your good design. I'm going on 27 years old, and if I walk too much, it fucking hurts. I'm sore. What is that? That's not intelligent design. Come on. Sorry. That's neither here nor there, but
And I would just encourage you as a Christian, you know, it's not loving to lie to people. It's not loving to be a pushover. It's not loving to just go with the flow because you're scared. I think
this is where the rubber meets the road, because this is where we love everyone. Mormonism does the same thing. We love everyone. We don't judge. Only God can judge. Everybody's sins will be judged according to them. We're not tried for Adam's transgressions. Like, all this fucking bullshit to then be like, no, you can't be trans. No, I won't use inclusive pronouns. No, I won't respect you. No, I won't allow you to access gender affirming care.
I know, right?
Like, the disconnect, like, it's just like a gaping, like, I don't even know.
People like this, and I don't, if you've gotten this far and it's not made clear, I'm not talking about all Christians, obviously.
No, we never
are. There are good
are.
Christians out there. It's Christians like this that are ruining it for everybody. But, I mean, they'll do everything that they possibly can except put their finger on the trigger in the name of, we love everybody. Like, okay, then why don't your actions show it? Ever. You're doing all of this shit into the contrary, but you're saying that you love everybody.
And what is, like, it's not, like, they can't even make the argument that it's of detriment to them other than it's, like, offensive to them and their God. Like, they have no argument for it being offensive. Like, for you to say, I prefer to go by she, her. What does that do to Bethany? Literally nothing. Literally nothing at all. She uses pronouns all day, every day, even if she spells them wrong. And she can't put two and two together here and be like, this literally, like, it doesn't do anything to me.
At all.
This doesn't hurt you.
What is it? What is being taken away from your pie when somebody else who doesn't identify as a woman is menstruating and needs period products? Like, that is like the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life, that you're concerned that other people are buying period products for themselves when you don't think they should.
It's just disappointing because, you know, people who identify as women are discriminated against and face oppression as it is. And then we have infighting in the group about who can identify as a woman, and you as a woman have privilege versus you don't. And that already exists. Like, it kills me that TERFs think that there isn't, like, a level of infighting and privilege within these groups already, like race, socioeconomic status. Like, there's already things that add or take away different amounts of privilege for women in general. And so to think that having trans women enter the scene and suddenly we have this division of, like, obvious privilege entering the scene, like, you couldn't be more delusional. And it's probably primarily white women. And I say that as a white woman. Like, that's exactly what it is. It's
our own homies. It's
privilege. It's privilege. And they're like, oh my God, you're so privileged. 'Cause, like, you're a white woman. Like, come on.
Yeah.
True love is speaking truth kindly. And, you know, it's not true.
Kindly, I say that you're insane.
Let it ride. I cannot.
A biological man that he can be a woman. And it's not truthful to tell a biological woman that she can truly be a man. And I think that we're only putting more fuel on this out of control fire by doing that. And we're pulling people away from God rather than towards. You know, you can feel free to disagree with me, but that is truly my perspective. And I think scripture backs all of that up 1,000%. Nowhere in scripture do we see the affirmation of a man marrying a man, a woman marrying a woman, a man becoming a woman, a woman becoming a man. God has so clearly gendered very specifically throughout scripture. He has so clearly laid out his plan, and ultimately it's not even about us. It's ultimately about God and glorifying him and living for him.
There is nothing that you can't justify with this argument. That is the problem with
justify anything with this.
That is the problem. And
anything.
Again, we're not talking about all Christians, because we're very aware that not all religious people in general are like this. But lots of religious people do this. And there's absolutely nothing that you can't justify based on this logic. And it's not even logic, based on your personal beliefs, opinions in something that may or may not be true and can't provably be
on
true
a book
or false.
That has 1,000, so many different translations, so many different interpretations. And that's objective. That is true.
When we make our identity, our sexuality, our gender, whatever, the most important thing about us, like, especially in this world where they say it can constantly be changing,
oh my God.
we are just setting ourselves up for so much emotional heartache and craziness. And I think that it's time to be bold and to be kind, but to
make sure we oppress
marginalized
people.
I stand on the word of God, and if you disagree,
and be hateful, but if we say it's from Jesus, then it makes it okay.
Meant as hate, that's your perspective, but it's very possible to disagree and still want what's best for other people, and viewing what's best as something completely different than what they view as completely different. So I just want to encourage you as a Christian to be bold. I just want to encourage you to know that there are people who are willing to say, you know, what used to be the obvious, and we're not going to back down or shy away. If you want to take a deep dive, go listen to the Girl Defined show. I think it was episode 82. But yeah, that's our perspective over here at Girl Defined. Men can't menstruate, period. And biological men cannot be women, biological women cannot be men. Our position will never change on that. We may disagree on that, but that doesn't mean we don't want the best for you and hope the best for you. And ultimately, we think that's
oh my God. Shut up. Please. Just shut up. Stop. Is that the end of it?
Yeah.
I'm over it. Go fuck yourself, Bethany. You fell off plus ratio, probably. I can already tell this is going to be ratio on your video. So, and I hate to go there, but honestly, it's the content. Your content sucks ass. It's antiquated. Your opinions, because that's what they are absolute dog shit. You are the anti J.K. Rowling, which is the absolute worst fucking title that I could possibly bestow on you. So,
I love J.K. Rowling in that house.
Yeah. Probably.
Turfs for days.
So.
I just never cease to be disappointed.
Every time.
By Girl Defined. Like,
every time. This isn't even getting into, she's like, oh, this is causing so much trouble and turmoil and everything. And I'm like, maybe you should take a listen on the fucking purity culture that you guys have been peddling for the past like half a decade now.
It's the same thing with the extreme religious right. And Bethany's like this in a variety of ways. But they're like so close to that self-awareness, like so close, they can almost see it and then it's gone. Because they can't possibly think that they might be part of the problem.
Ever.
They can't possibly think. Like, there's no possible way. And this whole situation, Bethany, her rhetoric, Girl Defined, and I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but it's the same, like, it's why we're here where we are right now. Because this basis, this belief system, this, life guiding work is based in hatred. And then the mentality is that everybody else is wrong and everybody else needs to adapt, because ultimately I have the higher ground. The Lord is the ultimate source of truth and everything else is bullshit. And it just sets it up to be so toxic, and I'm just truly astounded every time they say something.
Every time.
It's worse. And it's not a wonder to me that we've landed in the situation that we've landed right now. It's really not, because it's these type of people in positions of power. And it's one thing for Bethany to be in a position like this because she wields influence with a great amount of people. I mean, mind you, it's predominantly Christian white women, but a position of influence is a position of influence. But then it becomes a lot more frightening when we have people like Bethany with that same logic, with those same views, and put them in positions of power. And that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
That's when we have problems, because this rhetoric, these views can be applied to many of the current Supreme Court justices. And then we wonder, how did we get here?
Yeah, honestly. And that's the internet, baby. Like, you don't know where your influence is going. Mm-hmm. Like, just today, Jordan was talking with her dad of somebody who came into his office from Salt Lake and saw our wedding picture in his office, which was in front of the Salt Lake Temple, and he recognized us. Like, you never know where your influence is going to extend to, who you might leave impressions on, and everything like that. And when you peddle rhetoric like this, people die if it goes to the right people.
I mean, people know what she's talking about. I mean, it doesn't take a trans person watching this to figure it out. Like, you take one look at this thumbnail and you know what the fuck is going on. And people are like, why do you make reaction videos like this? That's what I think they sound like in my head. And this is the reason why. Because it depends on where you are on the internet. Really, it does, to get what's recommended to you, right? Like, it's an algorithm. YouTube has a whole thing, Instagram, all these social media platforms. But if somebody who is trans comes across this video, and then in the same sentence, because we've covered this video, they see ours, like, that's more affirming. Because here we are as cis people calling out Bethany's bullshit.
Yeah.
And being like, this is stupid. Stop saying this shit. It's inappropriate and it's harmful. And that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Because
literally,
we can't
the
let
harm
this
can
exist.
be measured.
Yeah.
And they love to bring it up all the time. So I don't get it, honestly.
Like, we can't let this exist. And I know a lot of people make fun of Girl Defined, but this isn't just making fun. Like, this is harmful. It's inappropriate. Like, this is making a point and saying, this is, like, dangerous. Like, you peddling this shit is dangerous to people.
And in such an influential and fucking tumultuous time. Like, it's honest. It's really obvious what the intended effect is.
Well, and we clown on Bethany, no problem. She does a bunch of stupid fucking shit. This is not the least of it.
Itself,
it
honestly.
Does. But it goes far beyond her making stupid Instagram reels. Like, it goes so much farther beyond that. Like, that's why this kind of stuff is important. And we appreciate everybody who regards this as inappropriate and stands up and says something, because it's important. Because depending on where you are on the internet, Bethany might drown out people like us. And if you're a trans person that encounters that and it feels like everyone is making content like this and everybody's against you, that's a really scary, vulnerable place to be.
For sure. Yeah. Bethany is using her privilege as a cis heterosexual woman to oppress people. And it's our job as cis identifying people to use our privilege to stand up for those people that are being marginalized. Like, this is a problem. I can't say the word of what's happening, but you go online and any trans person will tell you exactly the G word that has been going on in this country for trans people. So,
and this isn't like, this has been an issue for a long time, but especially with where the United States is right now, like, this is really pressing. Like, this is really concerning, because not only are idiot people on the internet saying this shit, like, people in positions of power who impact our daily lives and what we do and can't do are holding this rhetoric, and that's scary. That's a scary place to be. So it's important to stand up and say things like this and call out bullshit when you see it, because you never know who's going to encounter this after having encountered some goddamn ridiculous Girl Defined video and being like, okay, it's a incredibly stupid take, and not everybody who is cis and white and in a heteronormative relationship thinks that way. It's our job to use our privilege to get that point across.
And it's scary. I'm not gonna lie, it's scary. But in most of the instances, the worst thing that will happen to you is you get called a social justice warrior or a white knight. And honestly, if that's what you take to help other people, it's pretty inconsequential.
If you're going to comment that right now, just know you're helping the algorithm.
Thank you, dumbasses. Anyway, let's wrap this one up there. Trans people are valid.
Bethany
any way you
stupid.
slice it, yeah. And I mean, trans men, not every trans man menstruates, and some it's a really touchy issue. If that's you, that's totally valid. You don't, I mean, The favorite thing that we learned from a good friend, Kimberly, is that when you meet a trans person, you have met one trans person. That's it. There's so many people out there with so many different experiences and so many different wonderful things about them.
Opinions, religions, beliefs, values.
Yeah. It's not a good thing to be putting anybody really into a big box, which, I mean, you could probably say that we've been doing that with Christians and Mormons, but I feel like
we typically
we're not doing it in a harmful manner. I feel like we're not putting people in danger. So
no.
So thank you to everybody who stuck around. If this is something that you like, that you'd like to hear more of, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on any of our platforms, we just added Amazon to our listening platforms. You can make sure you download our podcasts and you can hear us. We upload every week. Sometimes I forget to upload the audio until later in the week, but we always upload so people can listen as well. If you would like to support us more, hit us up on Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com/Jordan and McKay.
We have exclusive content, live streams, videos.
Yeah, we're going to do more watch parties, FYI. So keep an eye out for that. If you'd like to see the most recent watch party, you can subscribe and you can watch that. It's already ready to go. It was good time, even though it was a blast. Bit cringe. If there's another way that you'd like to support us, we have our merch stores, Happy Brain Collective on Etsy, and we also have a Teespring. You can find the links to those in the description down below. And then you can follow along with us on our daily whatever. Jordan posts daily on Instagram, on our stories. You can find us there, and on TikTok at Jordan McKay.
We're almost at 10K on Instagram. Hopefully by the time you watch this, we'll be there.
Yes, we love all of our followers there. And then, of course, shouts out to the Discord. We have a great community of people you can join. Link in the description. It's a good time. I've been neglecting it a little bit lately because I am burdened with the weight of the world lately. Anyway. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you soon on a live stream. But until then, have a good one.